talking Obamagate. And what better person to talk about that than him writing about it? A great write-up on Tulsi Gabbard, of course, from Meidas Touch, the very own Ron Filipkowski joining us on a Monday. Ron, it is great to see you again, as always, my friend. How are you?
Good. Staying busy, as always.
You always are busy, Ron. You always do such a great job, and I appreciate you coming on. So as you know, Ron, and you wrote up a great article on your Substack about this, is that Tulsi Gabbard was not in Donald Trump's good graces. We know that a few months ago, she testified under oath that she didn't believe that Iran, our intelligence said that they had furthered their nuclear capabilities, and Donald Trump wasn't inviting her to these meetings. She was nowhere to be found. And now all of a sudden, out of nowhere in the last few days, they're talking about Obamagate and they need to arrest Barack Obama. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, you've been covering this. You wrote about it. What are your thoughts on this?
She also posted a video on her personal account at the same time, which was very strange and reportedly just infuriated Trump, which was where she said, we're closer to World War III and nuclear war than we've ever been before after the Iran strikes, which Trump took that to be a criticism of him. Right. Understandably, I think it was a criticism of him, although she never mentioned his name. So, and reportedly, like, she was right on the edge of being fired. I think that what saved her is the fact that she has developed over the last couple of years a very close friendship with Laura Trump and Eric Trump. She's become friends with that couple, and I think she's kind of like ingratiated herself to where they bailed her out. So she's trying to save her job. She's on the outs. She's probably, as far as Trump is concerned, the least popular senior member of his administration, as far as he views them. But Trump was desperately in need of a huge distraction. A distraction not for us, not for Democrats or independent voter, a distraction for his MAGA base. He needed something that was going to get them off Epstein. Because they were obsessed with Epstein, and no matter how much he pleaded with them not to care about it, they weren't listening. So in comes Tulsi Gabbard, who takes this like old report that was generated by the Obama administration back on his last month in office about Russian interference in the election. So basically, there's multiple reports on this, but most of the studies and the investigations, including an investigation led by Marco Rubio in the Senate when he was Intel Committee ranking member, a report that was unanimously approved by the Senate, Republicans and Democrats, also agreed to by Mike Pompeo, who at the time was Trump's incoming CIA director, all agreed that the Russians did attempt to influence the 2016 election through a variety of different ways.
Right.
Everybody agreed with that. Republicans, Democrats, basically the only people who didn't agree with that conclusion in 2017 was Donald Trump. Everybody else did. So what Tulsi did is she found a separate report that the Obama administration issued that said the Russians did not hack voting machines. They didn't interfere with the election. So what she did is she took that report and said that Obama covered that up, suppressed that. And that proved that so what they're saying is all the stuff that was put out about the Russian attempt to interfere with the election was all a lie and all a conspiracy to discredit Trump, because this other report said that they didn't try and hack voting machines. They're two completely different things, but the MAGA base is not smart enough, or really doesn't want to figure out the distinction between these two things. So in reality, and we could talk about this, what she has done with this temporary distraction, which has worked to sort of divert MAGA's attention, is in the long run going to make things much worse.
So let's try to figure out here, Ron, and dissect why she did this. Did you? Well, I think we know she wanted to be back in Donald Trump's good graces. We spoke about that,
and he praised her.
Right. Yeah.
So
do you think she did this on her own? Do you think some people around her said, hey, if you want to get back in Donald Trump's good graces, we need to do this? Or the latter, do you think that Donald Trump is the one that instructed her to do this, or maybe all the above?
Well, I think that she went into office with a plan, and I think she talked about this, that the focus of her office, which is to coordinate all the different intelligence agencies, was going to shift from what it has always been, which is to focus on foreign threats and to turn, sort of like the eye of Sauron in Lord of the Rings, to turn the eye to Donald Trump's domestic political enemies. So, and to make the focus of the intelligence community on them, on investigating all these past grievances of Trump against his political enemies, rather than China, Russia, Iran. That's no longer the focus. The focus is now on Barack Obama and, his most senior national security officials. So I think that that was her plan, but I think that there was a sense of urgency and desperation on her part to come out, to rush this out, which is like so thin and preposterous and flimsy, but I think that she was a drowning person trying to save her job and just needed to throw something out there that would work. And, going after Barack Obama over Russiagate is like, MAGA bread and butter there. That's like serving them a piece of chocolate cake,
And Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't talked about this in a while, but wasn't it proven that Russia did interfere, at least on social media? Now, I don't think that, I don't think that it really influenced the election. That's
Marco Rubio said that.
Right.
Mike Pompeo said it.
Yeah, I don't think it changed the outcome of the election. I don't think, but I mean, it could have, but it could have.
No, I thought Hillary did plenty to lose that election. So, just the same thing. I thought this past election, people want to look at a lot of other things, but I think there's a lot of things that you can point to that Democrats did that cost them this election.
Sure.
I think Donald Trump was an incredibly weak candidate in both races, but Democrats did a poor job. That's my opinion. Yeah. So, I know there's others who think it was rigged and all this, but I don't. So, but yes, it was absolutely, there's no question that the Russians tried to interfere with the election, but because they didn't hack voting machines, that, in 16, that is besides the point. That's just like a footnote. That's like an aside, like, okay, they didn't, but they tried to interfere in many other ways. But here's the problem for Gabbard and for Trump, that while they've gotten this brief 48-hour distraction, here's why it's made it worse. Because now you got all these MAGA influencers who have not forgotten about Epstein, but were sort of placated by Trump saying, we're going to try and release the grand jury transcripts. So they're all like tapping their fingers. Okay, where's Epstein? We'll give him a few more weeks. And then, before we lose it over that. But now they have a new thing to add, because here's what happened. When that Gabbard report came out, you had the usual suspects, Green, Luna, Gates, all the Fox hosts, the Newsmax hosts, all calling for arrests. They're already like, why isn't Obama in handcuffs? Why isn't James Clapper in handcuffs? Donald Trump put out a list of 9 people on True Social that he wants to see arrested. He posted on True Social, these people should be arrested, including Barack Obama. So now you've got the MAGA base go. Not only are they waiting for the Epstein files, they're now waiting for all of these arrests. And we know damn well that none of these people are going to be arrested. None of these people are going to be indicted. And so who's going to get the blame for that? Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. Because when Gabbard went on Fox to make this big announcement and give her interview, she was asked, well, what's happens next? And what did she say? She said, the ball is in Pam Bondi and Kash Patel's court to pick this up and run with it. And I'm making a criminal referral. So once again, what she does is she shifts the heat from herself onto Bondi and Patel, which is exactly what Dan Bongino did. She followed the Dan Bongino playbook. Blame Bondi, get the heat off me.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. As you said, we know there's not going to be any arrest here. Speaking of Jeffrey Epstein, I found it interesting over the weekend, and I think you tweeted about this. The Mark Levin show. Donald Trump was telling everybody to watch the Mark Levin show over the weekend. He's just a pathetic human being, but without even going there, he has Mike Johnson on. And what are they doing? They're trying to deflect. And Mark Levin is saying, why are we talking about the Epstein files? And obviously, Mark Levin and Donald Trump talked to one another, and Trump knew that he was going to be talking like this and deflecting like this. So he told everybody to watch Mark Levin over the weekend.
You know, what's funny is like nobody likes Mark Levin. And I include like MAGA people, like Republicans. Like he's literally like nobody watches his show. Nobody likes his show. Even they don't. And most of the time, at least this year, he's basically just spends every show on Israel. You know, it's just Israel, Israel, Israel. You know, he pretty much just like, it's sort of like Randy Fine is in the House to represent Israel in the House of Representatives, and Mark Levin is on Fox to be their spokesperson. You know, so you know, I don't think that really interests MAGA very much, is to watch a show about Israel every night. So, and he's a terrible host, but he's best friends with Sean Hannity. So the reason why Mark Levin has this little Sunday night weekend show on Fox is there is only one reason. Sean Hannity, who has a lot of juice with the network, got him that show and keeps him on the air. So yes, it was very strange for Trump to post on Truth Social, everybody needs to watch Mark Levin tonight, because I mean, I think he knows that like most of the MAGA people don't watch Mark Levin. And he didn't say why. He didn't say why. Like nobody knows what's the big announcement. And sure, he kicks off the show, and his message is, look, you know, the midterms are coming up. We got to focus on the midterms. It's time to stop talking about Epstein and get focused on all this Epstein nonsense. We need to just focus on beating the Democrats. So yeah, Trump is even like directing his people towards hosts who are going to tell them not to pay attention to Epstein. I will say it's like mostly not working. I mean, he's throwing out all these distractions, renaming the Washington Redskins and the Cleveland Indians. I mean, he's throwing everything out there that he can. I mean, it is working somewhat, but it only works for a little while. These people have been obsessed with Epstein for years. They're not going to let it go because, you know, Trump wants to rename the Washington Commanders.
Wait, Ron, are you telling me that they're not getting their mind off of Epstein because there's a different type of sugar in Coca-Cola? That's what I heard. I mean, that's a big deal.
That was another one that they tried, right? He's going to put, I mean, look, if you really like list out all the different things he's put out to distract them, it's like comical, you know, bring back the Washington Commanders, rename military bases, you know, put cane sugar back in Diet Coke, which by the way, Chuck Grassley, I now think that he and Keith Richards are going to live forever, because Chuck Grassley, who's like the biggest, he's a corn farmer. He's like Big Ag's, you know, the senator from Iowa, Big Ag's like #1 person in Congress. He like is completely in bed with the corn farmer lobby. And he hears Donald Trump talking about doing away with corn syrup and high fructose corn syrup and Coke. And he didn't have a heart attack after that. Now I'm convinced he's going to live forever.
By the way, didn't the CEO of Coca-Cola, or didn't they put out a statement saying it wasn't true? It was like a lie to begin with. It's not even true.
They were like, you know, they're doing the usual thing where they're like trying not to take sides. You know, they abide by the old Michael Jordan adage, you know, Republicans buy shoes too. So, you know, the Coke spokesman was like, we had a very nice talk with the president, very nice discussion. He's very passionate about this issue, but we don't believe that we're going to be making any changes at this point. I mean, you just think of like all their distributors and their factories all over the world. They'd have to change them out to basically make Mexican Coke at all of them. And not only that, like, again, you have to factor in how powerful the corn lobby is. Look, they got ethanol and gasoline. Like, you know, they're not going to go away quietly. Yeah. And so like it just blew my mind, because all those farm senators and representatives from the farm states are all Republicans and they're all Trump supporters. So for Trump to come out and say, because we import almost all of our sugar from South America, from other countries. Right. We don't produce hardly any sugar in this country, a little bit in Florida, and that's about it. But like 90% of our sugar comes from. So what he's saying is we're no longer going to use domestic corn syrup and Coke. We want to import sugar from Brazil and use that instead. Like, made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that probably makes MAGA people just as happy as if they said there'd be mandatory drag queen reading in every school. So yeah, I agree. If you're just joining us, Ron Filipkowski from Meidas Touch. All right, Ron, let's talk a little bit about the extremely
And
skilled.
by the way, let me just add one more point.
Sure.
Iowa and Nebraska are in play this cycle, which is highly unusual.
Yeah.
But the polls show that those states are in play this year. So 2 big corn farming states, by the way. So
yeah,
anyway,
and that could be a deciding factor. You could be absolutely right about that. Let's talk a little bit about the very skilled attorney, Alina Habba, as Trump calls her. There are circulating rumors that this could be a fact, actually, that she could be out of a job. What is the latest? What can you tell us about this situation?
Well, this is all going down tomorrow on Tuesday. So, she's appointed U.S. attorney on an interim basis, and those interim appointments are good for 120 days, which basically means like the Senate has 120 days to confirm you. She is not even on the calendar for confirmation. Like, she's not even scheduled for a hearing. The reason is because she doesn't have the votes. There's no way. There's plenty of Republicans, probably at least a half dozen, who will not vote to confirm Alina Habba because she's just grossly unqualified. I mean, she's, she went from, a parking lot attorney representing parking garages to Trump's criminal defense lawyer, not based on her litigation skills, probably based on other factors why he chose her. But, she was a member at Bedminster, her and her husband, for a long time, and that's how she got to know Trump. I'm sure she caught his eye, and she's talked about that in interviews, how it's been more beneficial for her over the years to be attractive than smart. That's what she said herself, not me, in interviews. So clearly she's right, at least in terms of Trump. So she has no chance of getting confirmed by the Senate. So her appointment runs out. So the only way an interim appointment for U.S. attorney can be extended, there's a federal statute that says that the federal district judges of that particular circuit, which in this case is New Jersey, can vote in a majority vote, can retain her and keep her on an extended basis, or they can disapprove her and select somebody else. That vote is tomorrow.
What do you think is going to happen? What do you think the outcome will be?
There's 17 federal judges in New Jersey. 15 of them were appointed by Barack Obama and Joe Biden. 2 were appointed by Republicans. So, I don't know. How do you think it's going to go down? You got most of the office up in arms because she charged with a crime the Newark, New Jersey mayor, and then had to drop the charges a couple weeks later after announcing all over Fox News, that she was going after this mayor. She then had to, drop the charges for no reason, and she's being sued by him. She also enraged her office because she met with the attorneys for this very powerful white collar fraudster who was looking for a pardon from Trump. So she has a meeting with his attorneys and does not invite into the meeting the prosecutors who handled the case. They were excluded from the meeting. So they were furious about that. So reportedly, the morale in the office is terrible. She's not especially interested in the job. She's completely unqualified for the job. And so I don't think the vote is going to go very well. So then the next drama is going to be this. So let's say they choose somebody else. Who are they going to choose? Are they going to choose somebody that Trump likes, a Republican? And Trump can then immediately fire that person. So they can oust her, appoint someone else. The next day, Trump can fire that person, and then we've got a vacant spot.
I guess we'll have to wait and see how this plays out tomorrow, Ron. I would assume that this will be in your Substack article today as like a preview to it. What else you got working on?
Yep, it is. It's in there. Lots of stuff. This one's a little bit of everything scattered all over the place. Unlike yesterday. Yesterday, I really felt like I had to tackle the Gabbard stuff because Democrats, again, just weren't really wanting to talk about it. And I just felt like somebody had to really take it on and explain it, why this is all BS. So that sometimes my Substack focuses most of it on one subject, which was yesterday. Today's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And I don't think that the Epstein story is going to be going away anytime soon either. I have a feeling about that, even though
There's
the market
more Epstein stuff in my Substack today.
Yeah, awesome. Ron, always great to catch up with you, my friend. Your Substack is one of the best around. Your Gabbard article was great. I learned so much in there. Appreciate it, my friend. And we will catch up with you soon. We'll let you get back to work, man. Talk to you soon.
All right. We'll talk to you later.
Ron. All right. There you go, everybody. Love him. Love him. Ron Filipkowski from Meidas Touch, one of the best in the business. Love having him on.